Welcome to the Weekly Gaming Blast, the podcast that brings you all the latest gaming news unhinged. Merry Christmas to you all on top of that, and I am AkibanZero.
And I am Reudolph the Gamer. Hello.
How's it going, Ruski?
It's not too bad, thank you very much, and a Merry Christmas to you. I raise a glass in your honour.
I raise a mug of raspberry leaf tea to you.
It's Christmas Eve. Why aren't you drinking yet? Yes, I'm very well, thank you very much. I've been engaging in the noblest of Christmas traditions, gaming and eating.
That is definitely a noble way to spend Christmas, for sure. Yes, I approve. I approve, especially the gaming part.
It's been very fun. I've been playing. I've been essentially trying to catch up on games that I have started this year, got away into, and then I've been distracted with review titles or other games, and I've just gone back to games from earlier on in the year, and I'm playing them through, and I'm absolutely loving it.
That's fantastic. Well, you got the time now. I guess you're on holiday from work?
I am indeed. Yes, my last day was Wednesday just gone at time of recording, so that would have been the 20th.
Nice.
Obviously had to travel back from Brighton, so that was one day, which was a write-off. But then yesterday I managed to just sit down and just game and eat mince pies, just literally the whole day, and it was lovely.
I gotta try me those mince pies. Everybody just keeps raving about them.
Give it a shot. At least give it a shot. They're a nice thing, I think.
Cool, great, awesome. So you say you've been playing games. Why don't you just give us a rundown of your titles?
Oh, blimey. I've been making significant progress. I've not quite finished, but I'm almost there. The Sexy Brutale. I've gone back to I Am Setsuna. I've been playing a little bit, and I can't believe I'm saying this, of Breath of the Wild. I've gone back to Assassin's Creed Origins as well. I've been playing a lot of that, because that got sidelined for Xenoblade Chronicles 2 when I had to review that. And I've also been playing Sonic Mania as well, which is not a game I started earlier on in the year. It's a game that I was just like, oh, you know what? It's almost the end of 2017. I've got plenty of time now to play games for a bit. I'll give Sonic Mania a try. It's a very good game. Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, it's back to regular form with Sonic. I mean, it's a pure 2D Sonic game, right?
It is indeed, with remix stages and remix music from like the legacy of 2D fighting games. No, 2D Sonic games. Of which, because I managed to not spoil any of it for myself, I don't know how I managed it for so many months. When possibly my favourite zone came up as a kind of retro remix stage, I was like, oh, the gods have blessed me this day. Which is Flying Battery Zone, for anyone who might want to know.
I don't remember that one. It's been so long. I really appreciated the versus mode of this game, like how it doesn't just time you, it's also like how well you do throughout the stage, like how many rings you get and stuff. I thought it was pretty cool. It's a pretty nice way to mindlessly play with your friends. Some co-op.
Yeah, it's much better than the battle mode in Sonic 2 was.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Which was a straight shot to the end. But what have you been playing? Like, are you on Christmas break now? Are you...
Very brief Christmas break. I mean, I was working up until Friday, and then I've got Monday and Tuesday off, and then I'm back in the old salt mines, and then some time off for New Year's, and then back to the school again.
Okay, so New Year's will be your gaming time, I think, because you've got prep to do for Christmas, I'm assuming, now, and then you've got Christmas.
Ooh,
so I'm assuming New Year will be your gaming time.
Well, I've gotten some gaming time in now. My wife and I have been co-oping Tales of Berseria together, which I really like this idea of playing like these JRPGs with another person, and like you do the battles with another person. But my God, that game took forever to give us control of a second character, even though it introduces two characters fairly early on, I'd say, but it still took forever until it was like, okay, now you can control the second character, and it's fine.
Agreed.
Yeah, but it's a nice game. It has a nice story. I mean, it's interesting. I've also still been playing Xenoblade Chronicles 2, which is a great game. I'm having a lot of fun. I've stumbled upon my first wall, I should say, which is fighting the two, what are their names? Akos and Malos, what are their names? The two bad drivers, I guess.
Wait, are you fighting them in a kind of city?
Yeah.
At the top of a staircase? Yeah, that's where I am too.
Oh, you're there. Okay,
yeah,
okay.
I fought them once, got blindsided, and I was like, well, okay, I've got other games I should be playing, so I'm going to go and do that.
Like, I did battle with them, I died, and then I was like, oh, awesome. This is going to be fun.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Oh, well.
Yeah. Nice to know we're exactly at the same point in that game at the moment.
Exactly. And apparently we get access to third blades after, like, during Chapter 4. Like, that's when you can assign a third blade. Yeah.
Awesome. Not that I will do it, but...
No. Well,
I love the blades I've got, to be fair, but...
Well, doesn't hurt to have a third one, right? Anyway.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Anyway, here we are today. Like, today's show is going to be it's going to be quite different, because we're not going to talk about any news, since there hasn't been that much stuff happening anyway. It's end of the year. The industry decided, let's not give any more bad news, but let's not give any good news either. Right? So, no news is good news, I guess, in this case. Yeah?
Yeah, no news means they're not messing things up more, so yeah, I guess so.
No more loot boxes until next year. Yeah. We're going to be talking about 2017 as this is how the show is going to be broken down. We're going to start off with a little bit of a review of 2017. What did we like about the industry? What happened? What were the things that we enjoyed? What things disappointed us? Then both Ruben and I are going to talk about our top 5 favorite games of the year and top disappointments, with no specific number, because 2017 was a pretty nice year. It was pretty nice for us gamers. So, yeah, I don't think we're going to have as many disappointments, but whatever disappointments we have are pretty severe, I have to say. And then we are going to end with the things that we're looking forward to for 2018, which is just on the horizon.
So close.
Yeah, so close. And there are so many things we're looking forward to, which is great. So anyway, without further ado, let's kick it off. Let's start with our review, and we're doing this question style. So question number 1, what made 2017 a better gaming year than 2016, in your opinion?
I've almost completely forgotten 2016.
There it is. Boom. Done.
Yeah,
next question.
I've totally forgotten 2016 in the light of 2017. I mean, the only thing... we'll come back to this in one of the later questions as well, but I think one of the main things that made 2017 a better gaming year than 2016 was the Switch. Because the Switch was such a tour de force, such an amazing kind of achievement for Nintendo, and had just a meteoric rise, it kind of forced the other developers and like the others of the big two to basically step up their game as well. And what it ended up with is a phenomenal year for just like gaming experiences, and the indie scene properly I think the indie scene this year has properly entered its stride as well.
Oh yeah,
we've seen some phenomenally very high caliber indie games this year.
I would call the launch of the Switch, because I know you've gone into indie territory, but back on the Switch for a moment, I would call the launch of the Switch the actual crowning highlight of 2017. Because across the board, it has, like, dominated so many areas. Like, it has so many magazines, so many outlets have been calling it the invention of the year, the device of the year, the tech thing of the year. So this is already a really huge push forward for the gaming industry, because it's such a cool device overall, a portable device that you can plug into the TV. It's nuts. It's nuts. And yet it's a device that people didn't know that they actually needed.
Yeah. And it's really changed the way that I game as well. It really has.
Exactly. It's changed mine as well, and I'm sure other people's too. But to contrast also from 2016, I kind of felt that Nintendo was really absent in 2016. It felt that way at the very least. I mean, unless you had a Wii U or a 3DS, Nintendo was completely absent. So, hello.
I've got to bring this into the podcast.
What?
Hello.
Didn't I see me then?
Yep, and so will the whole of the internet, 'cause this is a podcast.
Oh, thanks.
You're welcome. Merry Christmas.
Merry
Merry
Christmas.
Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas to you too.
That's my mother.
Oh, hi there.
Yes,
She's
so
lovely.
You were saying. Oh, brilliant.
Christmas is
Like-
about surprises sometimes, so
Yeah,
here we go.
it definitely is, and my mother brought, like, my watching for this evening.
Nice. Home Alone, I approve. I approve. Absolutely. Right. Yeah, so that's the thing, is that if Nintendo was a little bit absent in 2016, it felt like they were like almost non-existent at that point. So to come back so strongly, like this has to be called at this point Nintendo's year, in my opinion.
Agreed. Although, in all fairness, that's question 4, isn't it?
More or less. I would say that they were the major big winners, but there were others as well. I mean, there were definitely others. But we'll get to that. Let's, anything else you want to comment on this?
No, in terms of 2017 versus 2016, like 16 was an okay year for games. I mean, there was some great games in 2016, but in comparison to 2017, it's 2017, apart from the kind of blip from about September to November-ish, or maybe August to November-ish, 2017 has been a phenomenal year for games.
Absolutely. Cannot
Absolutely
agree more.
phenomenal.
So what were the top industry highlights or moments in your opinion? The Switch apart, since, you know...
Yeah. We'll put the Switch aside, because the Switch is a given at this point. In terms of my personal main highlight of the year is Joseph Fares, or Fares, however you pronounce his surname. He is such a refreshing thing in the industry. His kind of no-nonsense, blunt, straight-talking, and sheer enthusiasm is revolutionary. Like, him at E3 was easily one of the highlights of the whole of E3 for me. He was so modest and so humble, and yet he was so excited about this product he had. And then once again at the Game Awards, him essentially telling the Oscars to go stuff themselves. Like, he is such a breath of fresh air in the overly stuffy, overly suited, boring executive culture that has seemed to have surrounded games. Of which the only company that hasn't fallen into that trap has been Nintendo. I mean, they had their CEO holding bananas in one of their live streams. Like, Nintendo know that this isn't to be taken as seriously as Ubisoft, Microsoft, and Nintendo seem to believe it needs to be. Yeah, hold our industry to some sort of standard, but don't take it so bloody seriously.
Yeah.
And Joseph Fares or Fares, or however you pronounce that surname, is exactly what we need. Exactly what we need.
I just thought his whole presence at the Game Awards was just, oh my god, that was incredible.
Yes, it was absolutely incredible. Because the host did not know what to do with it, and that was more pleasing to me than anything else.
That was my favorite part. Jeff Keighley just standing there being like, what am I supposed to do about this? He's flipping the bird on camera. What am I supposed to do?
Yeah. So, Joseph Fares, that's my highlight of 2017 in terms of industry highlight.
I'm going to go as far as to call this E3 my highlight after Nintendo. Because I thought it was an E3 going a little bit back to the roots. Like, we saw a lot of good stuff coming out of E3. Games, which is what we always want from E3. Yeah? So, I thought it was overall a really, really good exhibition. They showed off a lot of stuff, even though Microsoft wanted to constantly push this whole Xbox One X deal with their 4Ks and mumbo-jumbo and all that.
World exclusive.
World exclusive as have that as like ingrained in our brain at this point. But even still, like it did feel like an E3 that was all about the games. But the most important part, and again, you're going to hear me say Nintendo so much today that it's just ridiculous. It's because Nintendo finally is back with a humongous presence in this E3. They were there very strongly. They were there making their statement that we're back and you guys should fear us.
Even now, I'd say that is entirely true. And even now, Nintendo are a force to be reckoned with. 6 months on, and Nintendo are still a force to be reckoned with in the industry.
I mean, shit.
Easily.
At this point, we're talking about Sony saying, "Ooh, maybe we gotta watch out for this, guys. This is like really strong competition. We can't ignore this." And they're also even talking about moving some of their first-party stuff to the Switch, or implying at the very least that this is something that might be on the cards.
We will see, won't we?
Which would just blow my mind completely, to be honest. Anyway, that's for our highlights and moments over here. But yeah, it's not all roses and rainbows and all that stuff, right? Some things actually did disappoint us about 2017. And what was that for you? What were the things that disappointed you the most?
I have two. Firstly, loot boxes. They came, and I personally blame Activision Blizzard for this. They became a very mainstream thing in full price games, which should have never happened. It's been dialed back to an extent, but it should have never happened in the first place. And that's quite a lot to do with consumer complacency. And yeah, that shouldn't have been allowed to happen. And it was a massive disappointment, and I will get into this in my top 5 disappointments. But it led, this in turn led to one of my big disappointments of 2017, which we'll get into in our top 5s. My other big disappointment of the year, and I hate to say this shortly after your glowing positive review a second ago, but one of my big disappointments of the year was E3.
Oh, in what way?
With the exception of Nintendo, who even then, they were showing a lot of trailers for things that don't have even concept yet. And that's, it was more of a cold light of day thing. So E3, when I was watching it at the time, I was like, this is amazing. But then afterwards, I was just like, really? Was it? Was it really that good? Microsoft's broadcast was repetitive and grating. Ubisoft's was just as irritating as it normally is. Sony was just showing games they showed the previous 2 years with barely any deviation from it and barely anything new. Bethesda's was just lackluster as all hell. So really, for me, E3 was a disappointment this year. I mean, you cannot compare it to, I think it was E3 2015, when they were just like, here's Final Fantasy VII Remake, and here's like every other thing you possibly dreamed could possibly exist. And this one just felt like it felt like I was watching the last 2 years on repeat again. And with the exception of Nintendo, of course. And yeah, I got caught up in the hype of it at the time, but then following on from it, I was like, it wasn't really that good. Well, and it's supposed to be the showcase, like the yearly showcase, and it just wasn't.
Admittedly, the thing about E3 these days is that E3 is no longer the centerpiece of the industry anymore. I mean, it used to be. It used to be that one exhibition that we all looked forward to see all the big ones. But now everybody has their own PlayStation experience, Xbox this, BlizzCon that. Everybody's got their own thing. And they all want to show everything on those things, but they also want to show them in other places. Gamescom has become humongous at this point. It's become another point in time that we're all looking forward to. Paris Week was amazing. So to me, E3 felt more like, here's everybody coming together with their stuff. Even though it's things that we've seen before, it still felt, plus Nintendo having all of that power that they're showing there, it just felt that, you know, for once it felt like the whole industry was coming together to show off the games. That's just how it felt about for me. And even though it's past, and yeah, I did feel like there was a lot of lackluster stuff here and there, it just still felt very nice to see E3 back in proper form, if you will.
Okay. Do you have any disappointments?
Oh, where do I begin? I've been disappointed in some ways from this year. I'm not going to mention games specifically. I'm going to mention about certain things. And I'm going to start with one of my favorite conventions from one of my favorite companies, which is now slowly, it seems like they're deviating away from being my favorite. And that is BlizzCon. BlizzCon 2017 was a major disappointment for me. And I'm not going to say that it's because there was no new Diablo, because that was one of the things that I was looking forward to, for another Diablo. But it was also that, and it's not just that there was barely any Diablo presence. It just generally feels like BlizzCon is turning into more like this thing where we just show ourselves off a little bit instead of making any major, huge announcements. Like, the only big major announcement they made, in my opinion, was saying StarCraft 2 is now free to play. That was a bombshell right over there. But everything else was just like, here's a character for Overwatch, and a couple of maps. Okay. Here's the expansion for Hearthstone. Okay. Here's, what else? Well, the next World of Warcraft expansion. Nothing. Not even a hint of a new project. Something. Because apparently there is a new project in the works. They've been hiring for it. Some people are musing that it could be a Destiny competitor, which I highly doubt since Destiny now is available via Battle.net for PC. But some people are musing that it could be a PUBG competitor. We shall see. We know that it's a shooter, though. So yeah, BlizzCon 2017 just felt absent of big things from Blizzard, and that disappoints me a lot.
Right, okay. So let's flip this into more positive. Question 4, 2017 in review. Who, in your opinion, were the big winners of 2017?
Nintendo is a big winner. Yeah, the biggest winner, of course, is Nintendo. No doubt about that. But
yep, can't disagree.
But we can't disagree also that Sony is just still really on top right now. Like, they have the biggest network. Like, this was the thing that really, like, drove it home for me, is that they, right now, PlayStation Network has the most users compared to Steam and Xbox Live. Which blows my mind, considering how everybody keeps saying PC Master Race. And Steam is there with so many games and so many sales and all that, and yet here's PlayStation with the biggest network. And up until several years, we were all saying just how bad PlayStation Network was, right? Like, everything was just all about Xbox Live. But look at Sony now.
Yep, Sony have come very well out of this year. And going into next year, looking exactly the same.
Oh yeah, they're like full throttle over there, and Nintendo is just trucking right, very, very closely right over there. But it's all gonna depend on several things for Nintendo. What about you? What are your big winners?
I can't deny Nintendo. The biggest winner of the year was Nintendo. It's completely indisputable. The only other thing I'd say is close are indies. If 2017 for me was the year of Nintendo and the year of the indie. I've played more indie games this year than I have in any other year. And I played more quality, like very high quality indie games this year than I have in any other year. I mean, all we need to do is look at the fact that there's some indie studios now which are being hailed like from on the high as like being better than most AAA. With good reason, with perfectly good reason. I mean, Yacht Club Games come to mind. They are really, really hallowed upon. And they've still got one more expansion to come for Shovel Knight, so that's just nuts.
Another Shovel Knight expansion?
Yep, King Knight comes next year.
Oh shit, son. Oh shit, son. That is a great game.
Mm-hmm.
I think once indies were able to get into the console market, that's just what really pushed them forward.
Yep, and also the fact that so many are on the Switch.
Oh yeah, and they'll just keep just chugging them into the Switch because the Switch is so easy to develop for.
Yep, I mean we got Super Meat Boy in the new year.
Got Super Meat Boy. We got like what the Switch right now has what like north of 200 games if I remember correctly.
Yep.
Yep,
it was 200 games a month or so ago, so it's probably a lot higher than that now.
Jesus, I don't think any console has been able to achieve that within a year.
Not in first year.
Not on their first year. No way at all.
Oh, we're not done yet. We've still got 3 months of it.
Oh yes, still got 3 months until we close off the Switch's birthday.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and we're gonna be there because there's gonna be.
Of course we are.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm happy. I also got I got a Pro controller. I have to show this off. Wait a minute.
Oh, the pretty one.
Yeah, the pretty one.
Oh, the best. Dude, I love that controller.
I can't believe I've gone for so long without a Pro controller. I don't want to play with anything else anymore. This is brilliant.
Such a comfy controller.
It's great.
I love them.
It combines both the Xbox controller and the PlayStation one in one. The comfort of the PlayStation and the design of the where the buttons are on the Xbox one in one controller, and it's so nice. I love it. Righto. So that's gonna do it with our year in review. Overall, 2017, really solid year for gaming, despite the disappointments, loot boxes, and all that stuff. So now it's time for the main event, our top fives.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to start with your first title for top fives. So I'm taking it we're not putting this in any particular order. We're just here flat out. Here are 5 titles from each of us.
Nope. Could not do a top. I could not order them. Could not. It took me long enough to slim down the many games down to 5.
Yeah, because we didn't want to turn this into a 10-hour discussion.
Yeah,
of
10-hour podcast.
An encyclopedia of podcasts.
So my first game, off the bat, top 5, 2017, Metroid: Samus Returns for Nintendo 3DS.
A game I have not played, sadly, because I don't have a 3DS.
My God, that's a good game. Essentially, all they did was do a proper remaster, a proper remake remaster of Metroid 2, but it ended up being, like, it's one of the few games this year that I can safely say I could not put down.
Ooh.
The moment I started it, I had to keep going. And there's not many games that achieve that, but I was determined, and I was determined to get 100% items. I was just completely on it all the time, and I eventually finished it the first night of Eurogamer Expo. And then the next day I was just like, what do I do in the queues now? Now that when I'm waiting for games, what do I play? But yeah, Samus Returns, it was the surprise, the very big surprise of E3, where they just flippantly showed it off during the Treehouse afterwards. They didn't even put it in the broadcast. Why not? And it's just a phenomenal game. It genuinely is. It's a fantastic, fantastic game.
So in what ways have they improved over Metroid 2, aside from the graphical overhaul and everything?
They added a goddamn map. You'd not believe how much it's not easier, but how much better it is to play that game now that you can know where you're going.
It
doesn't make the game any easier, but it does. But it does make it so much better to explore that game. It's not as cumbersome. It's not as joyless to explore.
I can relate to that. I mean, I did play Metroid 2 back in the day, and it was, oh my god, that game was so daunting. I mean, I felt like, oh my god, I have no idea where I'm going. I just put it down. I couldn't play it any longer.
And also the introduction of new kind of set pieces and new bosses. I didn't personally like the new bosses, but a lot of people did. But that doesn't mean I didn't enjoy fighting the new bosses. I just didn't think they added too much to the game that wasn't already there. But yeah, the game's just It's phenomenal, and it took me ages to pick one game from 3DS. There's been a lot of games on 3DS I've really enjoyed this year, but like that by far is the best. Easily the best.
And the 3DS is still going, which is really promising. I mean, it's great that that device still gets a bit more life left into it.
It deserves it. The 3DS is a fantastic little console.
It is, yeah, it is. And if I could justify getting another console in my life, I would get one of those nifty little new 2DSs, because those look absolutely nice. I love the color schemes.
The 2DS XL is a beautiful console.
It is, it is. Right. Okay. Shall we just do it like that? One you,
yep,
one me?
Your first top five. Go, first top five. Your first game of 2017. Go.
All right. Again, this is in no particular order, but I'm just gonna mention it as I feel it, and that's gonna be Horizon Zero Dawn. Incredibly breathtaking game. Like, I was late to the party on playing this because I had other stuff going on, but I've been playing it recently, and I have to say that it looks, first of all, it looks and feels just as gorgeous as you would have seen it in videos. If you're walking into game stores, you're looking at it on the screens. It's just absolutely gorgeous. I love what they've done with the world, the way it looks, how everybody looks and feels, the facial expressions, all that stuff works like really nicely, really gorgeously. I love the story. I think they've done an amazing job telling the game's story, which is very, very unique. Very different from a lot of stories and the way you experience them in games. And also, I really love the combat in that game. It's just so, you can get so creative with how you kill monsters. At first, I was expecting a bit of a Monster Hunter-like experience, but no. This was just like, this took those expectations, shattered them, and pleasantly surprised me. So many cool weapons, so many ways to like try and take on different types of monsters, whatever they like, robot animals, whatever they are. I'm just generally blown away by this game and its world. It's just incredible.
I couldn't agree more. Horizon Zero Dawn's on my top 5 list as well. I don't think there's been another game this year that has a protagonist that's as relatable, as likable, and as well written as Aloy.
Yeah.
She's a fantastic protagonist. The voice actress did a brilliant job on her tone and her voice. All of the characters you meet, as you say, are fantastic. I mean, I play Assassin's Creed Origins, and I do not understand how Horizon Zero Dawn, all of the characters, including the NPCs, can look so stunning, and then you see just the uncanny valley hideousness of some of the NPCs in Origins, and you just look at Ubisoft and just think, you've been doing this for years. Guerrilla Software have not been doing games like this for years, and they've already managed to create a world that feels more real than anything you've done, and yours are based on real events. It's odd for me. I mean, there is actually another game on my top 5 that I can apply this rhetoric to, but Horizon Zero Dawn is one of the few games I think I've ever played where I cannot fault it.
I agree a lot to that. Yeah. I mean, there may be issues with it that other people find, but for me, that game is as close to flawless as almost any game I've played. And ironically, that there's a second game this year that's had exactly the same response from me. But 2017 has been a good year. But Horizon Zero Dawn is an absolute joy to play. Absolute joy. And as you say, the flexibility in the weapons is just absolutely perfect. And you don't feel like that's what I like in a game is that it doesn't make you feel that you're forced to use one particular type of weapon or one particular type of ability. Horizon manages to tell you that all of these things are quite useful, give them a go and see what you can do with them, because I like combat creativity in games. I like being able to fiddle with little things, little gadgets, little materials here and there. It's part of the reason that I also love Monster Hunter, is that I can play around with different combat styles and different weapons and gadgets. So yeah, I think that Horizon really scratched that itch that I had for these kinds of things, and even more so. And Aloy, like you said, incredible protagonist. I really, I almost went to tears when her father figure died. Was it Roth, was it, right? Something like that.
Yeah, Roth.
Yes, I was almost to tears when in the beginning of towards the beginning of the game, where he passes away. Spoiler alert. Post the spoiler alert. I've played this game so much later than everybody else. I don't care. People should know about this by now. Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, Horizon Zero Dawn, definitely in my top 5. Really happy with it.
And on mine as well. So that's 2 games from my top 5. Did you want to do your second one?
Yes, I will, because I'm quite excited to talk about this one. Persona 5.
Go.
Persona 5, to me, is one of the, like, remember when I said about Xenoblade 2 that this is Japanese RPGs back with a vengeance? Persona 5 led the charge for that, to me. Persona 5 is a game that really, like you felt yourself with Samus Returns, Persona 5 made me feel like I wanted to get through this game and do as much as possible. And also at the same time experience the story. And I kind of also struggled a little bit with that. I want to experience the story more, but I also need to level up, or I also need to get some items, or I also need to do this and that. So I don't find this very often in games. Like, a lot of games sometimes just make me feel like, I want to push through the story and that's it. This game really made me want to experience all of the world that they've created there in Tokyo, which, like, I just love the way they've, like, made Tokyo appear in the game and everything. I love every single character in the game. There's not a particular one I would consider a specific waifu, so to speak, because I think all of the female leads in this game are just absolutely amazing. They're great. They're amazingly designed. They have great personalities, and they work very well with each other. And on top of all of that, I thought that this game was an example of a game that had really, really good English voice acting. They did a marvelous job with the English voice acting in this game, which you can't say for a lot of JRPGs out there. In many cases, it's really half-assed, but Persona 5 really hits it home because they've done an amazing job. Every character exudes their personality very, very nicely. And I just thought, at the beginning I was disappointed because it didn't have the Japanese voice acting by default. You had to download it. And once you start the game, you're locked into the language you've picked. So I was like, oh, I'm stuck with the English voice acting. But then it just kept going and going. It's like, I'm really loving this. They've done an amazing job. So, bam, there you go.
Must admit, haven't played it. It's now very high up my list, based on your recommendation.
You have to give it a go, Ruben. You just absolutely have to.
It's just, yeah.
I've never seen a game, like, I've never really, because I didn't really play Persona 4 or any of the ones that came before it. So I've never really experienced a game that manages to take the great things about a JRPG and something akin to a social simulator and just bring them all together and make it all matter. Just quite like Persona does.
God damn it, Akibana, you're adding things that I need to do to my already sizable list of things I need to do.
I am the proverbial taskmaster. Get Persona!
Okay, I'll put that at the top of my list.
Trust me, that's gonna throw you in for a loop. You're later gonna be like, oh shit, I gotta redo my top 5 now.
I don't know. I've got a pretty strong top 5, I feel.
Right. Okay, well, keep it coming.
Third. Well, I can't call it third, but my third top game of 2017 is Cuphead.
Mm-hmm.
It infuriates me, but I cannot deny that that is a good game. Aesthetically, musically, gameplay-wise, in terms of its story, like where it came from as well, like how long it's been in development, how passionate the devs were about making it, the sheer response to the game since it came out. It's not often that I go along with the same lines as everybody else when it comes to games of the year, but Cuphead, I entirely agree with everyone.
I was blown away. I haven't been able to play it, but I have watched you play it. I've watched our friend Dillips play it, and it looks like a very infuriating game, but at the same time, it's such a ride to watch. Mm-hmm. I think this game makes for a very, very watchable game on stream or on YouTube.
Yep, I'd agree with that. Watching people fail is always the joy of Twitch and YouTube, and Cuphead does cause that effect quite a lot. That game, it's wonderful, but my god, it annoys me. Yeah, so that's a fun thing, isn't it?
It is a very fun thing.
Yeah, I must admit, like, Cuphead is very, very, very fun to play. I mean, until the later levels where it starts getting incredibly unbalanced. I mean, it's still a case of learning the patterns, but like, there's so many patterns to learn the later on you get. It's an absolute joy to play. The soundtrack is an absolute tour de force. I've never heard a soundtrack quite like it. It's absolutely incredible.
It has a great soundtrack indeed. And since I'm a huge combat nerd and I like nerding out on combat systems, I think they've really nailed how you customize a character in a 2D platformer. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, agreed. It's got more depth than Contra, but it's still as grounded as Contra is, which is good because Contra is a beast in its own right. So there's only so much you could add to it without making it easier. So I think they've done quite well at that.
I really like the supers. I like how creative they've gone with the supers. They could have gone with like so many things that could do some incredible amounts of damage and stuff. But no, they've given you things like, you know, here's something that will give you temporary invincibility to get out of a sticky situation. And I like the implementation of parries as well. It has this little parry system to build your meter, right? So there's a little bit of there's a little bit of FG in there. There's a little bit of fighting game in there, which I really like. It's a really nice little nod to fighting games.
There's more than that in terms of nods to fighting games, which is great. Like two of the bosses replicate Ryu and Ken.
Yeah, exactly. And they both start off like both characters do in Third Strike.
Mm-hmm. It's a beautiful game.
Brilliant game. Right. Shall I move on then?
Yep, number 3, Akibana, go.
All right. You might hate me for this a little bit, but I have to. I mean, I'm sorry, I have to. It's not my game of the year by any stretch, but I do have to set commendations for Breath of the Wild. You almost threw up there, didn't you? Right.
A little bit.
Right. Okay. I am with you on everything that you've said about the music being absent, about the weapons breaking, which infuriates me to this day.
See you tomorrow.
Yeah. Have a great Christmas Eve, and I'll see you.
Enjoy your film.
Oh, I will.
I'm watching Peaky Blinders.
Of course you will. Go.
Keep going, yeah. So, just about the music, the weapons, the world being kind of empty and all of that, I felt Breath of the Wild was an amazing example of how an open world game can also be something you can take on the go and play like, you know, in very, very short bursts. I like how how generally they took this amazingly huge game and they told you, like, hey, this is something you can play on your TV for long play stations. You can also take it on the go and knock out a few temples here and there, do a few puzzles. Because I really like the puzzles in that game. I think that the puzzles they've done in there, they've done a really good job with them. It's really fun, really entertaining, and I don't know, in general the game feels very chill. It feels like you just sit there and play, and it doesn't really stress you out that much. Like you have to go and do this, you have to go and do that. I mean, you could go freaking fight Ganon right from the get-go. Doesn't force you to do anything. And overall, I think the general presentation of the game is really, really well crafted. I like the way the characters look. I love the way they move. I like that they've implemented a little bit of voice acting into it, even though Link is still, you know, a mute protagonist. I overall felt that it's a very well-crafted game with plenty of flaws, but it still is a really nice way to showcase what one of the most amazing devices of the year can actually do. And that's the way I see it. Breath of the Wild, again, like I said, not game of the year in my opinion, but definitely has a lot of qualities to it, and I think that everybody should give this game a go, even though they may not, you know, it may not be the game of the year. Anyway, yeah, that's where I stand.
Okay.
Nothing more to say. I'm disappointed. Yeah, AkibanaZero is the disappointment of 2017.
I have nothing to add to that. However, what I will say is, speaking of the Switch, speaking of a game that has essentially taken off with the help of the Switch and is an absolute fantastic tour de force, my fourth game of 2017 is Super Mario Odyssey. Because you really can't keep that game down, can you? That game is too good to be kept down by any man. Literally, from the moment I started playing Super Mario Odyssey, I knew I was onto something special. Something like Super Mario Galaxy level special. Because I had the same feeling when I started playing Odyssey that I had when I started playing Galaxy, when I was just like, this is really good. And from beginning to the end of the main story of Super Mario Odyssey, that feeling never left me. And even now that I've done the main story, I'm now casually hunting for moons rather than just, you know, going for it like I did with the story. And even now, every time I play it, I have the same feeling, that I'm playing something special feeling. And for me to have that over such an extended period of time for a game where its frustrations don't bother me, and it is, in the words that you used to describe Breath of the Wild, I used for Odyssey, it's just a chilled time. You can drop in, you can get a couple of moons, you can just call it a day, like, if you want to. You can drop in, you can go, like, mac out on moons, get about 20 moons. You can drop in, not even get any moons at all. You can just mess around in the photo editing bit, the photo taking feature, or just run around the world talking to the NPCs, like, just exploring the gorgeous worlds that Nintendo's created. Odyssey is just brilliant. It truly, truly is brilliant.
My general impression, and what I generally say about Super Mario Odyssey, like, you've just nailed so many things about an Odyssey there. And the one thing that highlights for me is that it's a travesty that this game has not been considered the game of the year by other outlets. A travesty. Mm-hmm. Because it is so well crafted. It's, first of all, it's Mario, and it's a fun time. And you say you sit down and you play something special, which is exactly the same feeling we had when we first picked up Super Mario Brothers back in the Nintendo era. Super Mario World, Super Nintendo era. Mario 64 on the Nintendo 64. And whatever Marios came out on Wii and Wii U, always something special. Always something new. There is Nintendo with Mario pushing the boundaries of what a platformer is. And that is just something, like, even the small touches, like grabbing and taking over the, like, piloting a dinosaur. It's such a small thing, and such a small part of the game, and yet you feel like, oh my god, I'm like a kid again.
Yeah.
And that's...
And just being able to capture bullet bills, being able to capture Goombas, like, all of these iconic kind of enemies that have been there since the time we started. You can now control them and fly around as a bullet bill, or run around as a Goomba, jumping on top of other Goombas and making a little stack of Goombas. I could talk animatedly and excitedly about this game for hours, probably.
That whole thing about taking over enemies is that one thing you didn't know that you wanted, but now you feel like you need to do every single time.
Yeah.
It's silly, but it's still silly fun. And it's a chill game, like you said. And it's something you could jump in for hours for, or you could just jump in for a few minutes. No other game really does that. And on top of everything else, all the customization you can do for Mario without a single loot box.
Or microtransactions.
Or microtransactions. No season passes, nothing. This is Nintendo saying, Mario's a game, it's always been a game, and we're still going to keep it a game. And they've done it right. This is the game that should have been the flagship of the Switch, in my opinion. Which is still fine.
Well, it is now.
It is.
As far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
It just took till October for it to come out.
Yeah. But yeah. For me, I agree with you. This is also within my top 5 as well. And it's actually the game of the year. So, like, no questions asked. That's it. Mario was never a shadow of it. There was never a shadow of a doubt that that it would not be my game of the year.
I should have said beforehand, Horizon's mine.
Horizon's yours.
Ultimate game of the year.
Okay. We'll get to a bit of a discussion on that because I'm interested to see why you feel like Horizon over Super Mario. But yeah. Shall I move on to my next game? Well, actually, my final game.
Your final game of the year.
Nier Automata.
Another game I haven't played. Please tell me. Tell me why I should play it.
Okay. My love for this game has started from its demo. The demo of this game basically tossed you and gave you everything that this game is about in one shot. It was basically, here's a game that's basically a 3D action game in the similar vein to Devil May Cry, albeit the combat is not nearly as robust or impressive, but it's still very, very serviceable and very fun to play indeed. And then at some point it switches to 2D platforming. And then at some point, you're tossed into what can only be described as a bullet hell to face a boss down. And I have never in my life ever felt like I've ever been in such a roller coaster ride of different types of games in one title ever before in my life. And I think Nier nails that so nicely. And it's all wrapped up in a neat little bow, which is its story. Which admittedly, you have to kind of repeat the game a little bit to experience the full story. But it kind of makes sense in its own right. So, to me, Nier just speaks to how you can you can take a bunch of other concepts of games and put them in one and get really, really crafty with them. And just wrap it all nicely in this world which is really well built, I have to admit. And the art style is just generally very unique, very nice. It has this like really gray undertones to it, which like really make it seem like this world is it's not really a pleasant world to be in. It sets the tone very nicely for the entire story. I just love it, and I love the main protagonist to be, and not for the other qualities that certain people like her for, but yeah. She's generally, I feel, a really nice protagonist.
It's been the year of the protagonist, hasn't it?
It is.
We're honest.
It is, yeah. And that's what you need to make a good story, right? You need really solid characters. And here we are.
Yep. That's very true. Very true.
I can't say the same for Zelda. Link... I think some people might disagree with this with me, but I don't think Link is an incredible protagonist, to say the least. He's more like a vessel for you to experience other protagonists. It feels more like Zelda is the actual protagonist in Breath of the Wild. It's just you're kind of piecing the story together with Link, so to speak. So, yeah, not everybody has a really solid protagonist. Persona 5 either. I mean, the main protagonist is actually you, not like the character himself, but still his story is very... very sad. Like, when I first played it, it was like the whole story just felt really sad. But yeah, the year of the protagonist. I won't disagree with that title, that classification.
Oh, what a year then.
So there you go. That's those are my those are my top 5. So you got one more to give us, don't you?
I do.
Let's hear it.
One more. My 5th game of the year, the Sexy Brutale.
Okay. Okay.
I didn't expect it to. When I was trimming down games from I think I had 20 in the end, down to 5. The Sexy Brutale is a game that just wouldn't leave. And with very, very good reason. I mean, it came out very early in the year for PlayStation and PC, and then came out towards the end of the year for Switch, which is when I played it. But I don't think I've played a game that's had this much of an impression on me in a long time. Because, like, I'm a big fan of like, whodunits and murder mysteries and things like that. So being able in the Sexy Brutale to play a murder mystery where you are trying to solve murders and essentially stop them from happening as well, but by using time travel, which is, you know, a thing. Like, the Sexy Brutale is an absolutely phenomenal game. The art style is both incredibly gaudy and over-designed, which suits a game which is set in a casino, but also it's coherent, because no matter how ludicrous the characters are and over-designed the characters are, the area you're in, the Sexy Brutale itself, is over-designed too. So it all fits and it's all cohesive. Also, the amount of head-scratching moments I've had playing that game, where I've seen the murder happen, and I just could not, for a good hour or so, not work out at which point was the turning point where I could have stopped it. It took me a long time, and it doesn't help that the game's throwing red herrings at you. So when you're, say, trapped in a particular area, and you know you have to solve this particular murder to be able to leave this area of the casino hotel, you find that there's red herrings, and you just spend ages looking at these items going, how do these help me solve the murder? Only to find out they don't. They're just red herrings. They're just there. They're just items that are there that have no use in that particular murder at all. So you spend ages trying to work out how it fits into it when it doesn't at all. And also, like one of my other top games of the year, Cuphead, and also like Horizon Zero Dawn and Super Mario Odyssey, it has a phenomenal soundtrack. I mean, it seems like out of my top 5, 4 of them have stellar soundtracks, and one has just a little bit below that in terms of soundtrack quality. It's been a year of very good music in games. And also, it's been a return of sort of jazz in games, which I like.
Little bit. I mean, I think that's why you would like Persona 5 as well. Very jazzy tunes there. That's just a crazy soundtrack by itself.
I do. I need to play Persona 5. I know it's on my list. I want to play the Dancing All Night games when they come out next year. But yeah, Sexy Brutale, jazz soundtrack. Super Mario Odyssey, jazz soundtrack. Cuphead, jazz soundtrack. But yeah, there's the Sexy Brutale. The only issue I have with it, and bear in mind this isn't even an issue, is that it's short. But when a game is that good, it doesn't matter that it's short. Really, it's about the ride, not the destination. And I've had so much fun playing that game that, yeah, it may be short, but hell if it's not a good game along the way.
You've just literally probably made me go buy this, like, instantly. I like the concept. It sounds crazy good. I'm gonna have to give it a go. Good. I'm gonna have to give that a go. Right. So, without anything else to add, just very quickly, why Horizon above Mario?
The sheer flexibility of it. That's my key proponent. Mario Odyssey, there are different ways you could do things, but for the most part, there is one set way of doing everything. Horizon Zero Dawn, you can approach everything any way you want. For instance, my friend who introduced me to Horizon, he's literally all guns blazing. He will go in with his bow, the most powerful arrows you can get, and he will just mess it up. He will just take down the dinosaur through sheer brute force. Whereas I have played almost entirely stealth, either stealth killing or possessing like creatures to attack other creatures. I've basically done as much of the game as possible without literally being seen. And as well as that, you've got traps, and you've got the arrows come in different types, which can be used to take down different creatures and do different damage to different creatures. And the kind of scan ability using the little monitor thing she has, little monitor thing Elo has, allow you to see weak points of the dinosaurs, so that you can say, like, the first dinosaurs you come across, the ones which are a little bit like cows, like boars, they have little canisters on their back that you can see when you use the scan, which if you hit those with fire arrows, they will explode, causing colossal damage not only to them, but also to everything around them in an AoE. And just that sheer kind of thought that's gone into everything. The same level of thought's gone into Odyssey, yeah, but Horizon, I did not expect that level of thought. Mario, I expect there to be thought going into everything now. Horizon, I went into it not knowing what to expect, and I came out of it genuinely and unimaginably impressed.
If there was an award for Surprise of the Year, Horizon would definitely get it in my eyes. Just so well crafted. And like you said, you can get so creative with the combat, and you can play any way you want. I love the focus. That's what the thingy she has is called, the focus.
There you go, focus. Thank you.
I love it, and I love that there's a story behind it. I love how it weaves into the story as well, the focus. Everything about this game has been well thought out, like you said, and that's what makes it so great. For me...
You've reminded me, actually, in terms of Horizon, another thing that impresses me about Horizon, unlike all... Because, like, there's a lot of set way in the future post-apocalyptic games, where you trudge around kind of ancient civilizations. But in Horizon, the ancient civilization is us, now.
Yes.
So when you go into ancient shrines, they are office buildings with, like, office chairs and and computers and desks. And when you find ancient artifacts, they're like watches and old mobile phones. And it's just... it's so geniusly thought out.
And surreal to think, like,
yes,
well, this is
true.
Everyday things for me. I mean, you could, I was half expecting somewhere to find a destroyed PlayStation 4 being seen as some kind of artifact, like kind of a throwback, you know, kind of a little bit meta that way.
Don't give them ideas. They probably would do that.
Ooh, yeah. I won't disagree. Well, that's it. Here are our top 5 games of the year. We have passed the 1 hour mark, so we're going to jump into disappointments.
Should we make this quick so as to not be too downer after the positivity we just had as well?
Yeah, yes. Kick it off. What's one of your biggest disappointments?
Earth Atlantis. Indie game, on Switch, on PC, I believe. Great aesthetic when you look at it. Great concept. I mean, post-apocalyptic future, which I seem to be all about this year, with, you know, a kind of bullet hell almost thing going on, all hand-drawn looking sprites. All of the monsters are kind of mechanical fish, so they take on different kind of aquatic life. But the thing is, the game was just so horrible to play. And even when they released a patch after its release to kind of cover a lot of the issues I had with the game, it still wasn't enjoyable to play. So yeah, Earth Atlantis, one of my disappointments of the year.
Yeah, I remember you were not really impressed. I can... Now we get why as well. Here's my biggest disappointment of the year. One of my biggest disappointments of the year. And you know what I'm about to say. Destiny 2.
Yeah.
I am going...
I did see that coming.
You did see that coming. And I'm going to explain to you with a metaphor exactly how Destiny 2 has made me feel. Destiny 2 has made me feel like the girlfriend or boyfriend that you broke up with, or you ended things with amicably, depending on how you ended things with Destiny 1, who later came back up to you and said all of the right things that you wanted to hear, showed you all of the flashy stuff you wanted to see, and then gave you an amazing, spectacular night you will never forget, only to later, for the next few coming months, reveal to you once again that they're still a sorry piece of shit.
Well, okay.
And
can't really add anything to that.
Here, this is how I feel. The game is still kind of fun in certain ways. It still feels like a Destiny game when you play it. But it's clear to me at this point that Bungie is really after our money in a very bad way. And I am actually rating Bungie at this point more scummy than EA at this point. Ooh. Bungie and Activision, because they're like, you know, Activision's the publisher. They're scummier than EA at this point. Just a hair above EA, but scummier. Like, that's it. Done and done. How you can manage to end Destiny 1 with all of those improvements, all of that great stuff, only to bring us a game that is 1 step forward, 10 steps back, is ridiculous to me, Ruben. Ridiculous. This is just pure, utter greed. I don't know if you've read anything about the new event, the Christmas event, the Dawning as they call it. It's all so focused on the in-game store that it just sickens me. Destiny 2, sorry. It was nice knowing you, but maybe not exactly.
Right.
Sorry, I brought a real downer here. I had to, though. I had to say it.
I see you one sickening thing, and I raise you another sickening thing. Star Wars Battlefront 2.
Which we never bought, either of us, to be honest.
No,
yeah.
Neither of us bought it on principle, and both of us are huge Star Wars fans, so what does that tell you? It tells you that EA done gone fucked up, son. The fact that neither of us wanted to buy that game really does show massive testament as to how badly that game was handled.
And I was excited as well. With all the the flashy things they said. There's not going to be a season pass. No this, no that. Okay.
I mean, there's nothing we can say now. I mean, I'm not going to go too much more on about it because there's nothing we can say now that we haven't already covered in the past like 6 or 7 weeks about Star Wars Battlefront 2. But I just had to register it as one of my disappointments of the year.
Yes, it's definitely mine as well. Like, I'm one of those people that is screaming right now, Disney, take the rights away from that company, seriously. They don't deserve to make another Star Wars game. Although I could question how much Disney deserves to make Star Wars movies, but that's not for this discussion.
Yeah, it's a completely different podcast, that would be.
That would be. Movie podcast coming up soon. Yeah. No, I'm just a small sidestep. I am fully aware that Star Wars exists mostly for the sole reason of selling toys. But, you know, it's always been the one childhood thing that brought me into sci-fi, and it's always the one thing that I look up to when it comes to sci-fi. So, yeah, it is something I cherish, Star Wars. Right, disappointments. Do I have something else that disappointed me? I did mention Blizzard. I did mention how much BlizzCon disappointed me, and I really hope Blizzard next year or in a couple of years manages to bring something new out there because, you know, we kind of need to stop seeing a Blizzard that's milking the same thing and kind of see Blizzard go back to where we're seeing something new and creative from them, right? Even though Overwatch could be seen as that one new creative thing they've made, but even still, it's an esport that you've created it for it to be an esport and sold to be an esport. And honestly, guys, we need to, and that's, I would say, probably the one thing that I would call what is disappointing me about certain games in general is that we're escaping the idea of games to create esports, and I don't like that. Street Fighter did that. Street Fighter V did that. They tried to do the same with Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. Blizzard is doing that with Overwatch, and with Hearthstone. But come on, guys. Where's the game? Where are the games? The games. That you can't force a game to become an esport. It has to make the esport community itself. That is my point.
Yep. Can't add to that.
I couldn't.
Perfect point.
It's anyway. I'm not gonna go down this line any further, but yeah, that's these are my my biggest disappointments for this year, and hopefully we're not going to see anything akin to that. Maybe we'll just see something better down the line.
Yep.
Anything else you want to add as a disappointment?
Yep, I'll add another couple of disappointments that I'll gloss over, and then I'll get to my biggest disappointment of the year. But I'll do all of this quite quickly so as to not bring it as a downer. You saying "Where are the games" perfectly sums up this one. Square Enix, where's Dragon Quest XI? Echoes of an Elusive Age. You released it in Japan on 3DS and PS4, and then released it later on Switch in Japan this year. Where is it? We want it, please. Thank you. So that's a disappointment, but that's more of a "I want it" disappointment than the game is a disappointment.
Yeah.
Onto a game as a disappointment, though. Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. If I wanted to play a mobile game, Capcom, I'd get it on mobile. Keep that game as far away from me as possible. No matter how much I want to play Rocket, I will not play your horrible-looking, poorly implemented, janky, horrible-to-play fighting game. Thank you very much.
Let me hijack this for a second and say this was a disappointment for me as well, because to be honest with you, when the game was first shown off and people were like, "Oh my god, it looks like a mobile game," I was like, okay, it does, but it looks like it's gonna be a lot of fun, and it's still early and all of that. I was a defender until they finally showed us Chun-Li, and then how Chun-Li moves and what she does, and then they showed us other characters and how lopsided the design quality between Marvel and Capcom characters is, that I just went, fuck this. This game doesn't even exist to me, Ruben. It's not just not only is it a disappointment, it doesn't exist. I've disowned its existence.
Wow, okay, so you've transcended disappointment in this game.
Exactly. Anyway, keep on going.
Okay, final. My biggest disappointment of 2017. Yooka-Laylee.
I expected that.
I waited. I backed it on Kickstarter, and I waited for the game to come out, and it took until this year. I think it was February this year. And I've never been so disappointed with a game that I've waited that long for before.
Were you a backer? I forget.
I was a backer, yes. In trying to replicate the old games of the older era, essentially in trying to replicate the games that they used to make when they were members of Rare, like Banjo-Kazooie, etc., etc. They succeeded. They really succeeded. But in doing so, they made a lackluster game that suffers from all of the problems of the older games. They chose to go down the replication of the older games so hard that they forgot that the older games had a lot of issues. And they just elected to ignore those issues. Why? Why did you elect to ignore the copious amounts of issues, like the camera issues with the older games? Why did you ignore them? Because all you did is you just created another game like those, which we could have done without because we still have the originals.
And it's such a fun little name too, Yooka-Laylee. How could they mess a game like that up?
If I want to play a character platformer with collectibles, with janky controls and a horrible camera, I will play Banjo-Kazooie. I don't need Yooka-Laylee for that. But yeah, I just came away so disappointed with it, is all.
Is it safe to say that Yooka-Laylee to you is what Mighty Number 9 is to me?
Yes.
Okay. I feel you,
except
brother.
you seem to be more despairing about Mighty Number 9 than I am about Yooka-Laylee. I've kind of reached acceptance, and you're still in one of the other 5 stages of grief.
Let me just say what Yooka-Laylee has over Mighty Number 9. It looks like the product they were initially gonna sell you.
Oh yeah,
they
that's
didn't
true.
sell you a screenshot that later turned out to be, this is just concept art. It's not exactly the game. I mean, we were shooting for that, but I don't know. Maybe we ran out of money. Maybe we embezzled some of that money. We don't know.
Embezzling. Wow, you're...
I'm throwing shit out there because, man, they were backed so hard. But I don't want to get into Mighty Number 9 now. Anyway, that's...
Oh, I've just realised my screen's gone really dark. 2 secs.
You just need to hit a nice little light switch there. There we go. I've been meaning to say something, but, you know, I didn't want to break the flow. Any Hoosers. Yeah.
That's better.
Yes.
Right, so that's our disappointments and our top 5 of 2017. I think we did quite... I think we covered quite a lot there.
We did.
But we're not done.
No.
We're not done.
We got
a
year ahead of us.
Yeah, we got the big 1/8 2018 ahead of us.
Yep.
So on to essentially question 5 of our podcast today, Akibana. Do you think 2018 will be a good year? And why?
Based on what we've seen, what we know so far of what's coming out in 2018, I think just from what we know from Nintendo so far, I think it's gonna be a very good year. What do we got to look forward to? Metroid Prime 4, Kirby, Yoshi, possibility of Pokemon. The very hush-hush tones of, like not even rumors, there's nothing. We just all feel in our bones that a Smash will be announced, will be coming. Even if it is the port of the 3DS/Wii U Smash, it's still, like, something it might be coming. We have Bayonetta Collection and Bayonetta 3 in development. Project Octopath. We've got BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle coming to Switch. And there's some hints right and left that maybe even DB Fighters might be making it to the Switch. So, and both of these games are coming to other consoles as well. On top of things like the Capcom Street Fighter Anniversary Collection and Mega Man collections and X collections and all of that. It's looking like an amazingly intense year. And it's kicking off very intensely for me specifically.
Street Fighter Arcade Edition and Dragon Ball Fighters before the end of January. That's nuts.
And Monster Hunter World.
Oh yeah, for you, Monster Hunter World.
Yeah.
Forgot about that.
Because you're despising it with every playthrough of the beta.
I'm loving playing with people. I just don't like the game.
You're there for the chat. You're not there for the fighting.
I'm there for the chat and the fun. I'm not there for the actual playing the game. I couldn't agree with you more. The Switch for 2018 is looking phenomenal. And the other, like, next year for fighting games as well.
Crazy year.
I mean, geez, fighting games next year. We've got Dragon Ball Fighters. We've got Cross Tag Battle. Unist is finally coming to Europe. We've got...
Arcade Edition.
Arcade Edition. We've got King of Fighters 14 version 3 is coming out next year as well.
Yeah.
It's Fighting EX Leia from Arica. Them's Fighting Herds is finally coming out next year as well, out of beta. Next year for fighting games is going to be so good. Oh, Smash as well. It's coming. There's no way that's not coming. But yeah, Smash as well. Like, next year for fighting games is absolutely incredible.
And I think we have that, what's it called? Fantasy Strike, I think, is coming out of early access.
Oh yeah, Fantasy Strike, and I've just forgot Final Fantasy Dissidia NT as well.
That too, yeah, and Noctis for Tekken 7.
Yep. I know there's one more fighting game I've missed though, and it's going to bug me, but I can't remember what it is. There's a lot, and then with all of this, Pocket Rumble on Switch is still MIA. Pocket Rumble as well. It's just a very, very good year for fighting games 2018 already, and we're not even in the damn year yet. And we're so hyped for all of that stuff that's coming out. But yeah, Switch has so much to look forward to. We've got some great PlayStation and Xbox games coming out as well. I mean, I'm pretty sure we have Xbox games coming out next year. I don't know.
No.
I have an Xbox and I don't know.
He doesn't know. Look at that. Microsoft, step it up. Anyway, what do we got? God of War, or Dad of War. We've got Last of Us 2. What else? Why am I stuck?
Shadow of the Colossus.
Shadow of the Colossus. Jeez Louise. There's so much coming out. So much stuff.
Concrete Genie.
Concrete Genie. Spider-Man.
Yes. How could I forget Spider-Man?
Spider-Man. We've got probably Ghost of Tsushima. Sucker Punch's new game, which, oh my god, I can't wait for that. If it's coming next year.
Isn't A Way Out this year as well?
Yes. Yes, A Way Out. Oof. Yeah.
This is a good year, isn't it?
It is a very good. It's gonna be lots of good games coming out across the year, and hopefully we're gonna get some other big announcements. What do you have anything to add to that, or shall we move on to the next question?
No, I think that pretty much covers my my 2018 being a good year question.
All right, let's move on. What are your biggest fears for 2018?
That teaser not being Bloodborne 2.
I know that would make you very sad. Yeah.
That would disappoint me so much. The only
shit, Code Vein next year.
Oh, Code. Oh,
because we went to Bloodborne and immediately I made the association. Yeah.
Oh, Code Vein. I'm so excited for Code Vein. My only legitimate fear is that something worse than loot boxes comes about. Like the Activision algorithm. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
A few months ago. Like, if something like that comes about, like, that's my only legitimate fear, is that the industry will just take a moment of complacency and run with it. That's my only disappointment. That's my only worry.
Yeah, and on top of that, the whole idea of, hey, no loot boxes or no season passes being a selling point. This is what becomes to me the most egregious thing, is that I'm trying to sell games to people on games because they don't have all of that stuff. I'm really hoping that governments really step in on this in a good way, although I can't expect too many things from governments because they really don't care about our industry that much.
No, they really don't.
No.
I mean, the fact it's taken Apple saying we want loot boxes more regulated on our service. Yeah, that's my only legitimate proper fear for 2018, is that something worse than loot boxes comes about.
Yeah, I would say that reflects my own fears as well. I don't want the trend to grow any further, but I also don't want to see anything new. Because I know that I still feel the industry is in a bit of a state of flux here. They're transitioning towards a way to make money, which I understand and sympathize with. You need to make money in order to make more games. But I don't like this experimentation and this pushing the limits to see what is acceptable and what isn't. I'd like there to be some more intelligent thinking and more, how should I put this, empathetical thinking from publishers. Like, what is it? Not just how are you going to make money, but how are you going to make it in such a way that we're also not ripped off? I mean, sure, there are a bunch of people out there with a lot of disposable income who are willing to just become whales in silly games like Kim Kardashian Tap That Booty or whatever it's called.
If that game doesn't exist, I demand it be made.
I don't know, it just came off the top of my head. People are willing to be whales on these stupid mobile games. Doesn't mean that you guys need to ruin our industry by introducing these practices here. Leave it there, in that place. Let that market regulate itself. We don't need that. We know people like that exist. We knew that since the early casino days. Does not mean that that has to be introduced into a medium like video games.
Hear, hear.
And another fear of mine, and this is going to be a great fear of mine for a while, is Respawn. I'm really hoping whatever EA decides to do with whatever Respawn releases, which I'm pretty sure next year they probably releasing something or announcing something. I'm really hoping that doesn't lead to them getting closed off by EA. I mean, I'm going to be constantly monitoring this situation. Because Zampella could say all he wants that we're the same old Respawn, but, dude, what were you going to say? Hey, you know, I'm sitting here in a corner, quaking with the rest of you. No, that's not what he's going to say. So, let's see. Really curious. But anyway, yeah, fears aside, this is an industry of excitement and expectation. So let me hear, what are your expectations for 2018?
Well, I fully expect the Switch to close out its first year in style.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly don't think Xbox are gonna. When we look at the Xbox One X sales, they're not going to have been good enough really to warrant keeping Xbox kind of in the race enough for them to be a worry next year, really. Sony are just going to continue going from strength to strength. That's just a given at this point. But yeah, I think my only real expectation of the year is that Nintendo are just going to continue with the Switch and the momentum's just going to keep going.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I'm expecting this trend of nice little bombshells of games to continue happening, maybe at a slower pace. Maybe we're not going to see as many big bombshells, but we're going to see like some kind of normalization, I would expect. Like, we're going to see some really good stuff. We're going to still see some indies. We're going to see some interesting stuff coming along. Maybe not as big. And hopefully we're going to see the industry also kind of accepting that maybe, you know, some of the practices they've been following in 2017 might not exactly be the best for everyone involved. And
with any luck.
With any luck, yeah. But these are big businesses we're talking about here, so who knows? So what in your mind would make you feel that 2018 what do you feel would make 2018 a really good gaming year?
A refocus on the game and having fun. Very unlikely to happen, because all the while that games like Overwatch, etc. exist, no one's having fun. So, I would love that to happen. It's very unlikely, but I would absolutely love just a return to actually having fun with games. Nintendo is still doing it. They're still making games which are fun, apart from Breath of the Wild. So, they're still making fun gaming experiences. So, what is the trouble with everyone else?
That's a big question. Yeah. Games are still supposed to be fun. They're supposed to be about us having a good time and us paying you money to deliver us a good time. I think that the main problem is that the industry needs to understand they don't need to add as much value as they think they need to add in order to allow us to have a good time. The value, yeah, because everything in business these days is all about how do you add value to the customer. But that just ends up, you know, coming to a point where people miss the point. What was the reason I bought the game to begin with? What is the reason I got this service to begin with? So let's stop worrying about add value and let's start focusing again on the core, on that one package. Because I like that you bring this topic up, because to me, this has been the biggest problem for the past couple of years, or maybe 3, that we're delivering half games, or games that are missing sections to them in favor of selling them later. And games like Horizon and Mario Odyssey, they're up there on our top list for a reason, because they're good, wholesome, complete packages. That's it. And that's what we want to see. That's what make that a good gaming year for me as well. But
yep, cannot disagree with that at all.
But also, yeah, Switch continuing its train, chugging along there and continuing the momentum, but I don't want Nintendo to get complacent. They still need to work on that infrastructure.
They always make their biggest mistakes when they become complacent.
Exactly.
The Wii U, for instance. Huge mistake just because they were complacent after the Wii.
They need to fix that infrastructure. Online needs to be on point. Seriously, what would make it great is if we had a good online experience. We had voice communication natively through the device itself, and finally give us the Netflix of Nintendo games. Please, guys. Please, guys, put that all into one neat little package. I will pay a monthly subscription for that.
Agreed. Definitely agree, especially if it goes up to GameCube games. Agreed.
Oh, yeah. You've got an incredible library. This is going to be a huge missed opportunity if you don't do it, Nintendo. That's just it. If you announce this in 2018 and make it so, Captain Picard style, I swear to God, that's it. To me, you're king again.
Yep. I can't... Once again, you making all these statements, I just can't add anything because you've already made the best points for me.
Sorry if I've been dominating this whole time. I'm just really excited.
No, completely fine. I'm very excited about 2018 too. And it kicks off almost immediately as well, so...
Can't wait.
Like barely 2 weeks in, isn't it? Like, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy. I mean, January especially is going to be nuts. Oh my God, I can't wait for all these games. Anyway, that's going to be our weekly gaming blast and the last one for 2017. So... well, have you got anything to share with us before the year closes, Ruben?
Just thank you. That's the one thing I want to say. Thank you, everyone who has watched this the whole time. Thank you, everyone who's checked out my stuff, everyone who's checked out Akibana's great stuff as well. Like, just thank you for everyone who genuinely gives two shits about what we have to say about the gaming industry. So, thank you. In terms of sharing, today, at time of recording, so this is Christmas Eve, my review of the Sexy Brutale has gone up on Nintendo Scene. It'll be up on Rue the Gamer a bit later today. My final review of the year will be up before New Year's Eve, in which I'm reviewing Phantom Breaker Battlegrounds Overdrive, because anime. And... yeah, I've got videos going up on YouTube, roughly about 2 a day. Well, there'll be 1 a day today, 1 a day tomorrow, because it's Christmas. And then 2 a day until the end of the year. Yeah, just check out the stuff I'm doing. It'll be on ruethegamer.com, so just check it out. Just check it out.
Are you gonna be back to streaming?
Yes, I will be back to streaming. Boxing Day will be my first stream.
Ooh.
After Christmas, and my second to last stream of the year, because obviously the last one will be before New Year's Eve. Because I can't stream on New Year's Eve because I have plans. Of course I do, because you know we all get busy this time of year. So yeah, I'll be streaming Boxing Day, and I'll be streaming the 29th.
Nice.
And then my next stream will be the Tuesday the 2nd. But yeah, I'll be back to streaming.
Awesome.
Look forward for the foul-mouthed Brit that is I.
I'm totally expected to hear lots of bellends and fuck-offs and all of that stuff, so I'm super excited.
Well, Cuphead will be back, so...
oh, yeah, baby. Yes, I can't wait. That's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
I don't have much gaming coming out. Well, this is the only gaming thing I'm releasing before the end of 2017. Sadly, Ruby has taken up a lot of my time, but I'm having so much fun with that show, so much. And I have a little something which I'm not going to be... well, as of watching this video, you actually probably saw it. My little gift to the Ruby community and all those people who have joined my channel has been to react to the Volume 1 soundtrack, which I have to say is an amazing soundtrack. Really, really cool tracks overall. I've never done anything like that before in my life, but I really had fun doing it. So hope you guys enjoy it since it's come out on the 25th. Santa's here. Santa Aki is here. Yeah.
With your hat and everything.
Yeah, look at that. Yeah. Only £2 at Primark. Great hat. Right. So yeah, that's going to do it for this week's Weekly Gaming Blast. As usual, you can always follow us on Twitter, on Facebook. Ruben's stuff is always on ruethegamer.com. You can get all the updates, all the awesome reviews, all that stuff. This guy's a great writer. You should definitely check out his stuff. Thank you again to everyone who has watched the show, who has liked, who has shared, has commented. Special shout-outs to Dillips, Charlie, Boroshin, who have been telling me so many times that they really enjoy and look forward to this show every week. you guys, we wouldn't be doing this without your support. So thanks again. And yeah, from my behalf, Merry Christmas to everyone. Have a Merry New Year.
Happy Christmas, everyone. Have a great New Year. Have a drink or something. Why not?
Yeah, have a drink or a mug of something.
you and your mug of tea. Me with my actually quite nice wine.
That looks really nice. I'm jealous now. Might go get one myself. Anyway, that's going to do it for this week and for the rest of the year. So with that in mind, we will catch you next time.
See you soon.